On using dividers for isometrics part 2, we have 3 different shapes that we're going to draw. They're a little bit more difficult, but it's still the same general thought process. So figure A is going to go here, figure B down here, and figure C over here. So again, with our instructions, it asks us to double the dimensions of the orthographic views when creating our isometrics. And I'm also using my 30, 60, 90 triangle resting on my parallel bar, or on my T-square if you're working on this from home. Okay, I'm going to use my 5H pencil to project the front corner lines of my isometric out in each direction. Okay, I'm also going to create a vertical line here so that as I'm putting my dividers on here, I'll make sure that I'm keeping them nice and straight. So the first thing I always want to do is the total height, total width, and total depth. Width is the direction from left to right. Okay, so that's the width. Okay, height is from top to bottom. And my depth is from the front of the object to the back of the object. Okay, so my width information is going to go on the left side, my depth is going to go on the right side, and my height is going to go on the vertical. So I'm going to come up with placing my divider point here, and again I'm going to let the leg bounce, because these should be nice and tight, so whenever we're pressing inward with the leg, it'll want to bounce out, but if we're pulling it apart, it'll want to spring back in. So you got to let it just kind of rest for a second to see if it's going to move again. And once I have that measurement, I'm going to place the tip right here at the center. I'm going to put 1 foot down, rock it. I'm realizing that I'm slightly off camera here. Sorry about that, guys. So I'm going to place the tip right at the intersection. I'm going to put the foot down, rock it, spin, and this is what I call walking the dividers. And I'm going to press down to make a tiny little pinhole. Okay, so I have my entire width. My depth is a little bit wider than that, so I'm going to put one tip right here at the very end at point O. Have my dividers go to that other tip. Notice that it's right on the line. Press down. And there. And finally, I'm going to get the total height. I always start off all of my drawings with three measurements, okay? It's good to create your glass box that will contain the entirety of your drawing. That way you keep the dimensions proportionate. And if you know where your boundaries are, you will know when you've made a mistake, because you'll stay within the boundaries if you're right. You will leave the boundaries if you are wrong. So now that I have that height information, I can transfer, just staying at that 30-degree angle, I could transfer those dimensions to enclose my glass box. Okay, that looks slightly off, so I'm going to erase that line and try that again. Okay, it's important that in a precision drafting class that you pay attention to the precision component of it. Okay, so these are the boundaries of my glass box that this entire shape will fit within. The next thing I'm going to do is draw what is going to be touching the glass box. So this entire side is going to be touching this side. If you look at the top, this piece, this rectangle along the top is what's going to be touching the top portion. And down here at the bottom, this is what's going to be touching the right side. So I'm going to see that this line here and here, so I'm going to have 2 feet touching here. So I think the first thing I might do is get the height right here of that smaller portion. Okay, and again, we're going to double it, so I'm going to rock it, spin, press down. And I'm going to transfer that measurement with a construction weight line across. The next one I'm going to want is this dimension right here. So I am going to measure, press down, rock, twirl, puncture. Okay. And I'm going to darken in my object lines because I have just identified where that top rectangle belongs for my top view. Okay. To create this slant, all you're going to do is connect this dot to this dot. So I'm still using my H pencil, and I'm going to connect those dots. I really prefer to darken in object lines as I find the final placement, and that way I don't have to go back and do it and possibly miss a line or two, which would cause me to have to try again and resubmit. Okay, it continues that same slope from here to here, so I'm going to also create that dark line, that angle. Okay, so far we have a pretty good wedge going on, and my instinct is to close this up, but you can see that it has this little piece cut out of it. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of a problem. So we're going to need to follow up and take some more measurements. Okay, the first measurement, we're going to be doing some depth measurements. I'm going to measure from the frontmost piece for that leg. Okay, and again, find my original pinhole and walk it. And darken in my object lines. Next, I can take this dimension, which should be the same. It is. Take it from the other end and walk it and darken in those lines. Okay. Now this part right here is the one where most people have the mistake. Okay. They try to take this measurement right here and double it for some reason, and it doesn't work. Okay. What you're going to do, you're going to take this dimension from here to here, and we're going to put it down here. Create a tiny little pinprick, and then I'm going to grab my 5H pencil and project that up. Where that very light line hits my object line, that is where I'm going to project it over. Okay. I'm also going to take these two measurements I moved that. I'm going to take these two measurements and I'm going to place those on that new construction line. Or I can just take a line that's parallel using my triangles. Okay, we learned how to do this first quarter. Okay, I have that lined up, so now I can bring that up that direction. Okay, and this one I feel is easiest for me is to make the parallel line that connects the corner to that new line. Okay, it keeps it looking nice and even. Then I can close that in. Okay. But this looks incomplete, which it is. Okay, so what we're going to have to do, if there's ever a corner, a crease, there should be some lines. So I'm going to project this corner back, bottom, and I'm going to project this corner down to find where that inside bit would be. Okay, and finally darken in my edges. The last thing I would want to do is go around, make sure that I have clean endpoints and connections, and then I would move on to the next one.